Hello, hello, welcome everyone. And welcome. This is Annie Koloko, an immigration attorney. I hope you guys are doing well. We're already connected to TikTok as well. And we're starting our live today, and the live will be about what's going on in the news. But our lives are a mix of what's going on in the news, as well also our themes about immigration matter and issue that actually are important to you. Now, today we will be talking about what the travel ban, of course. As you can see in the description, yes, we're talking about a travel ban. Of course, I'm not going to get too long. I know a lot of people have questions. There is a lot of anxiety about that. Make sure that you answer the question. Make sure that you secure the live. Make sure that you tap. For those of you on TikTok, and for those of you who are actually here on YouTube, don't forget to put a heart. Now, if you are watching this after, of course, he has been, broadcasted, then don't forget, to join, the channel, talk about, share this channel with other people. You can see what we're doing. You probably see that, we have live on a daily basis. Of course, we do. All right, all right. Okay. Now, we're talking about the travel ban. The travel ban. This is something that has been on, of course, on the list of priority for the administration. And for those of you who may not be aware, but what is a travel ban? What exactly is going on? Why are they doing that? And so this is not the first time, meaning that during the first Trump presidency, there were already travel bans. The thing is, it was extremely controversial. It created a lot of chaos, of course, because the travel ban was literally targeting people that would be becoming citizen of what it was considered a Muslim country. Of course, it was extremely, obviously it was challenged in court because the legality, of course, the executive order was actually challenged. Why? Because you cannot target a group of people based on the characteristic, right? Because you have equal opportunity, in front of the law. That's not the case, meaning that the case was challenged because the legality of the travel ban was challenged. Now, okay, okay, all right, we're back. Okay, it created chaos. Why did it create chaos? Because obviously you have some say, hello, hello. Of course, you have to understand that people will be coming, and even though they were permanent resident, but if they're coming from a country that was on travel ban list, then they will not be able to return, which was really, completely illegal, because if you are a permanent resident, obviously you have the right to live and, obviously in the United States, meaning that you can imagine at the airport, it was really, I remember it was really bad. Now, of course, the challenge went all the way to the Supreme Court in a decision in 5-4. Then the Supreme Court actually sided with the government, right? And that was all in 2018, meaning it started from 2017 in January. It was litigated all the way to 2018. And 2018, finally, the Supreme Court handed the decision and by saying, okay, yes, 5-4, we think that this is not actually legal, that the travel ban actually can legally stand. Why? Because it was like the third or fourth version of the bill, and they had to add two or three other countries. That way they would not have this argument that the law actually was discriminatory on its face. And that's what happened. Okay, now, end of the story, the history, little bit of history lesson. Now we go back to travel ban number 2.0. The president, as soon as he was actually sworn in, and as promised, campaign promises, say that, yeah, he had in mind that he will start the travel ban too. But you have to remember that for the administration, given that there was already a first mandate, right, like Trump, first presidency, the President Trump first presidency, for the second presidency's cabinet and all his advisors, they definitely want to avoid what they consider as mistake. They want to make sure that they send things, even though that can be argued whether this has been successful, but they signing this for the travel ban too, they did not rush in like they did the last time. Remember, it was issued in January of 2017. Here, nope, it took 6 months, right? And now that's where we are. And now the rationale behind it is to say, the people, the country who land on this particular list is because, they cannot demonstrate to the United States government satisfactorily, obviously, that, they actually, process the, obviously their citizens, the extreme vetting, meaning basically national security reason. You guys are not, convincing us. This is why now we're going to do this. And then there is the second list where they have the partial ban. Now, a lot of people are confused because, of course, that's a way of putting pressure on some of these particular countries. Now, let's see to be, who is on the list, who is on the list, who is on the list, who is on the list. You will see that most of countries that are on the list mostly are actually located in Africa and also in the Middle East in part, okay? Now, you have to understand that, when we're talking here about the list of obviously of country, right, here, it's about a dozen, right? A dozen countries are actually listed. The one that have like a full travel ban, aka their citizens cannot come to the United States, they cannot travel to the United States, is fully restricted. We have Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, the Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Sudan, and Yemen. These are the 12 countries where the ban is completely, it's not a partial ban, it's a full ban. It's fully restricted. Now, there are 7 countries that to travel is partially restricted. And that means that for the moment, they probably, obviously will be looking, they still have to convince the United States government whether they will be able to perform what is expected, what the US government expected from them, which like the vetting and so on and so forth. Now, these 7 countries, you have Burundi, you have Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Now, the big question that people have for some of you, and the reason we're talking about it is that, of course, we have to see, what about me? I have my family and, I filed an application for them. Are they actually, is this applicable to them? When we're talking here, when they say partial ban, when they say, complete full ban, they're talking about non-immigrant visa, aka people who are coming on a non-immigrant status, meaning visitor, right? So on and so forth. Of course, you can have employment visa also, for example, the O visa, things of that nature, some also investment visa. Those will be people that coming in that capacity because those are non-immigrant. These are the exception. Every law always have an exception. Always. Meaning there is no such thing as an absolute law. It does not even exist. Now, according to the president, we say decree, but anyway, it's an executive order, permanent resident and their spouse are exempt of this particular, decision from the president, but they have to show that they are clear and convincing evidence of identity and family relationship. This is very important. It means that if you have been filing an application, if your application is being actually processed, right, it goes from USCIS, then once the first part is actually complete, then it's transferred now what is called consular processing. Now, consular processing, like you can imagine, consular is sent to the consulate, right? Now, once it goes there, then your family member will be having, obviously interview with the US consulate or the US embassy. Now, how long will that take? No one knows, because when you talk about consular processing, it varies according to the consular post, meaning that please keep that in mind. Please, it's different. Now, of course, when they say US citizen, US permanent resident and their spouse and children, it means that if you actually, you apply for your spouse to come to the United States as a permanent resident because you are either, a US citizen or, a permanent resident, or either you want your children as well, meaning your whole family, they will not be, actually, don't have to think about it, they will be exempt of this particular decree. But it's not just because you're saying, okay, yes, this is my spouse, yes, those are my children, that is going to be okay, boom, they're just going to stamp the passport and they will be coming. No, because you have to show by clear and convincing evidence of identity and family relationship. Meaning it's very important. The reason they're saying that is because, remember, in the first place, the reason there is a travel ban is because the US government is actually convinced that the government of this particular country cannot guarantee to the United States, the vetting, which means we verify the identity, we verify the full background check, and so on and so forth. That's why now they put this now on you. If you have your family, you're going to have to show that, okay, my spouse, this is literally, birth certificate, of course, passport, and so on and so forth, to demonstrate the identity. Same thing for family relationship. Of course, DNA is going to come into play again, because that was already the case before. That's going to come into play again, meaning that make sure that you have that, because it's clear and convincing evidence. It's also, this part can be a little bit vague, because that will be probably up to the consular officer to make a determination based on the document that you actually submitted. Now, who else has been exempted? Afghan, who assisted the American force, right? Because remember, Afghanistan is in the list of countries that have the full ban. But during the war, there were actually Afghan who assisted the troops, right? The American force. And they have a special visa. There is a category specific for actually the Afghan who assisted the American force. They are exempted, right? Meaning that if they're trying to come to the United States because they're in the process and it takes such a long time, they will be able to do that. Diplomat, of course, diplomat, come on now. Because the diplomatic relationship are not severed, right? It's just a pressure that the government is putting on those particular countries. But if you're a diplomat, of course, you have diplomat, you have mission, then they will still be coming carrying their duties, right? Athletes, remember we have, I think, is it the World Cup coming this summer? I'm not really sure. But I know that there is a huge event, but any big event, if you're an athlete, you're coming to the United States for the World Cup, the Olympics, and other major sporting events, you are not actually under those particular rules. You're exempted of those rules. Now, people who have a dual national, right, with a passport from a country not listed in present care. For example, imagine your country is listed there, but it just happened that you have another citizenship, even if it's not an American citizenship. If it was, it will not even, well, anyway. Then you are not actually, you are exempt of this rule. Meaning that don't believe that, for obviously it's not everybody has the same, on the same boat. Adoption, if you're adopting a child, right? Because you can be sure that will have been such a, people either will be an uproar, right? People will be like, okay, I'm in the process of adopting my child. This just happened that my child is from this country and then now there is this, no, that will not be applicable as well. Ethnic and religious minorities facing persecution in Iran with immigrant visa. Meaning if you are part of an ethnic and religious minority and you live in Iran and you have an immigrant visa, then you will be allowed actually to travel and enter the United States. And of course, there is the catch-all provision that you find in any type of law, decree, decision, whatever. The exception made by the Attorney General or the Secretary of State for travel deemed as advancing, quote, United States national interest. Meaning at the end, you have also this catch-all provision that allow the government to make a decision, even if it's not on that list, and say, okay, this particular person, this particular situation actually is deemed to be like, okay, we're going to allow, this particular individual to enter the United States. Meaning this is, you see exactly what's going on. That's why I don't want you to be completely traumatized or, no. There is always exemption. It's always very nuanced, right? You have to understand that when they have this, it's actually a message that the government is sending to those countries. It's also a way to leverage, to negotiate. That the president like to negotiate. That's what he says, that he's a great negotiator, meaning you can be sure that this will not actually, that will prompt a reaction from other countries, right? And those countries now will come to and try to say that, no, but, what are we talking about, right? How can we solve this? Because it is actually most of the country want to remain to be able to have a relationship, obviously, between the United States or other country and their country of origin, right? Meaning this is super important, and for you to understand that. Okay. Now, it's talking about, of course, talking about the reaction, consider reaction, obviously from the government. There are some reaction, and that actually oscillate between fury and resignation. Of course, those are two extreme, feelings, right? But that's, of course, they were in shock. Apparently, those countries were in shock, the 12 countries that ended up on the list, because they really don't understand, right? And also the cancellation of visa program for 7 more, meaning you're talking the partial ban. And then, of course, the government cites national security and terrorism concern, right? Meaning that they're not convinced that those countries actually vet their citizen enough, the one that want to travel to the United States, and without showing to the government that, yeah, you should not have this concern. But for example, of course, for example, Chad also immediately issue a restriction also on issuing visa to US citizens. Meaning you're going to have to see also that, there will be a lot of posturing, there will be a lot of anger, there will be a lot of shock, right? Or some people will be like, some country will be like, okay, it's a matter of national pride, like, okay, we're going to grab like it, tack, tick for attack. Then Chad did that, right? And they say, quote, Chad has no plan to offer, no billions of dollars to give, but Chad has its dignity and pride. And that's the President Idris Deby. That's exactly what he wrote on Facebook Thursday, meaning that, yeah, you can expect, a reaction, obviously. Then we have that. And then, of course, the other country, they literally, they literally just going, through, like, I guess, through that, obviously, there are some other countries, very interesting, because some people are also raising the fact that, for example, Egypt did not end on the list, even though after the tragedy that happened in Boulder, and the person is actually the alleged suspected, person who is at the heart of this is actually Egyptian. And then some people are saying that, yeah, because it demonstrates that Egypt has a lot of influence, specifically, on the war, in the Middle East, when they're trying now to get to an accord, meaning all of this. But at least, that's where we are. What else do we talk again today? Of course, as we know, immigration court is still, it's really a problem, because, of course, you have to understand that the administration wants 3,000 people, 3,000 people per day to be arrested. 3,000. They want to hit those numbers. And of course, that's happening. And now they have problem, concern over the condition of detention, because you have to remember that the system is not built to have that many people being detained. Okay, meaning that that's the problem, right? Meaning that this is actually something, obviously, but that's what we are. I'm gonna answer your question. Thank you so much for those of you who connected. Again, I see some question. I think some people may be confused for some reason. This is a live in English. For the live in French is in the evening. And I see some question, regarding that, but hopefully, I hope that clear everything up. Now, all right. I'm gonna answer the question. If you guys have some question, if you don't have question, that's fine too. But you should have. Okay, Edem say, okay, can we still apply for a K1 visa? Yes, you can still, because that will be an immigrant. No. Oh, let me just actually, rephrase that. According to what I see, if we have a reading, it may be a little bit of a gray area, and I'm going to say why. Because when they say specifically U.S. permanent resident and the spouse and children of U.S. citizen, if you file for a K visa, a K1 visa, which is a fiancé visa, at the moment, the K visa is immigrant visa, and then when the person comes, then they apply actually for permanent residency. That could be not go. It could be a no-go based on what I see. But if I see something else, but I'm looking at the text itself, because if you have like a straight up reading, U.S. permanent resident, spouse and children of U.S. citizen, like meaning that probably the marriage would have to occur, right? And that's how that go. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mutu. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Merci, merci. Oh, Mutu is saying that's interesting. Say now the people are afraid to apply for naturalization. Interesting. What would people be afraid, right? Except if people are, because it's probably even the moment, but I understand why it could happen. If you think that you may have something that will render you ineligible, right? I think I would suggest that make sure that you you're concerned with an immigration attorney, with counsel, right? Because there's a lot of question. The landscape is definitely shifting, right? Uh, but I think if you are eligible, then you should apply. There's no reason why not. You should apply. Okay. Jom is asking, Jom, actually, the live in French is tonight, as usual, right? This is a live in English. You're more than welcome to stay or just be like, okay, I will just check my life, saying hi to my little one, who is not little. No, but there is a live tonight, okay? All right, all right. Hello, hello. Hola, hola, hola. Hola, David. Okay. Steve say this decision by the Trump administration concern the people who work in the government. Not necessarily, because they're talking about diplomat, right? But one thing, people who be adversely, obviously, they will be affected by that. Probably people who can afford to travel in country where probably travel is not as easy, right? Because it requires that you have some means. But if you're a diplomat, you see, it doesn't really affect you. Oh, thank you so much. Merci. Hello, Gad. How are you? All right, all right. And I'm going to look at my team YouTube. Gauthier, hello. Hello, media. 2AS Media. 2AS Media. Yeah, my son is looking at me, he's thinking that I'm telling him something about media, but I'm actually talking to you guys. Just funny. Um, all right. Inanti, what about the Sudanese citizen who have a green card and want to travel? No, it's not. Because remember, if you are a US permanent resident, meaning AK, you have a green card, right? You can travel, right? You will be allowed to return. Because remember, that was a huge issue and it created chaos with the first travel ban. They just put everybody in there. And people that were originally from the country that were on the travel ban list, when they came back to the United States, they were denied entry. It was terrible, terrible. Like emergency, obviously lawsuit has to be filed. The judges issue, injunction, and I think that's the reason that now they're like, okay, we have to make sure that this travel ban 2.0 is foolproof. And that's why you have that. Meaning, if you're a U.S. permanent resident, meaning if you're a green card holder, not a problem. Don't worry about it. But even though when I say don't worry about it based on this, but now whether you should travel or not, it's another story because it will depend on your immigration history, and that I'm not privy to it. I don't know. But technically, the ban does not affect green card holder. That's what you have to remember. The ban does not affect people who are filing for their family to come here. We're talking not about their parents, they're talking about the children and their spouse, if that makes sense. Yeah, no problem, no problem, Inab, no problem. Thank you so much for the number one gift, the badge. But let me know if you guys have any other question. But this is definitely something that you want to know about. But yeah, travel ban. It's just this is it. Meaning it's just there, right? It's just there, of course. And also something that I saw on the USCIS website. Um, I believe I saw something here. Exactly, that's right. ICE in conjunction with CBP. CBP stands for Custom Border Patrol, and USCIS, they are ramping up the crackdown on visa overstay. You see, like how you can be in the country, you came with your visa expire. This is what it means. A visa overstay, you overstay actually, you overstay your like the term of your visa, right? Yes, and you can tell because come on, once you enter, you have what is called an I-94, and then you can see in the system. But now, if they're doing that, the reason, and they say that they say that is following actually what happened in Boulder, okay, Colorado. But now, if they say that they're doing that, what they have to that what they will do, you have to be super careful. They will start reviewing immigration record and take appropriate action, crack down on visa overstay, and da 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 da. Be mindful. It means that if you are in the US and your visa is actually expired, what's going to happen? Probably when they just go through the record, because before really, the visa will expire most of the time, really, except if you come into contact or if you're about you end up in removal proceeding for some reason. Sometimes you could be here for years and really nothing will happen. But now they actually issue that particular, this is a release on the USCIS website, and that was issued yesterday. Now they're going to start now, go through all the records. Yeah, meaning that's that for the moment. Inab say, I'm just traveling to Paris in 1 week as a lawful permanent resident. Yeah, but you know what, Inab, like I'm telling you, it's so hard to tell you anything about travel. That's why it's a policy now for this firm. We don't really answer question about travel. Why? Because there are so many things. What's the manner of entry? What did you say? Da da da. Do you have any problem with the law? Because now even a parking ticket is becoming a problem, right? You see people sometimes who found themselves in detention when they came back. Sometimes they have like maybe a conviction that was even dismissed, something really very light, and then decades later they show up and then it's become a problem. That's why we don't answer this type of question anymore. Just because, come on. I don't want to not create confusion, right? Okay. Guys, please post one time, twice at the max, otherwise that's spam and we will have to actually mute you. Okay. Overstay the visa 3 years now, married to a citizen. Then you apply for VAWA. Yes. If you are a victim, yes, please. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry that has happened to you, but thank you so much, Dawa. If you are, because unfortunately, when them are very, create a lot of anxiety, it just is the same thing happened during COVID, right? There is a lot of abuse that can go around, right? And specifically now that immigrants are finding themselves are being more vulnerable, meaning that if you have bad actors, right, you may be actually finding yourself facing abuse. Now, the question was, okay, I overstay my visa for 3 years, married to a United States citizen. After the abuse can apply to VAWA, you should. That's your right. Don't, because behind all of this, there is still the rule of law, there is still the due process. You have to exercise your right, and you exercise your right by filing. You have to apply because you're a victim and you should seek protection. But that was a great question because, yeah, probably a lot of people may even believe that they have no right anymore, that it's over, right? But that's not true. Thank you so much, Bernard, for the number 3 gift badge. Dawa, I hope that answered your question. I saw that you posted 3 times. All right. Boy Casamance, thank you so much for number 3 gift badge, number 1 gift badge, number 2 gift badge, and all the roses. That is very much appreciated. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm just looking also. looking at some stuff. All right. I'm just trying to see. Okay. Let me just make sure that I have that. Okay. But you guys, please, make sure that, put your question in the chat, if you think that, yeah, I have a question, right? Yeah, of course, Adawa. Yeah, do it, please. Okay, you know what? If you come and you don't listen, we're not going to have this, okay? You cannot come. Bibaso, are you new? Are you new here? We just specifically said at the beginning of the lives that this live is in English. Why would you? It seems like there is some confusion, right? There is some confusion. I say for those of you who speak French, the live is in the evening. Maybe you just join. Did you just join the live? But, hopefully, govern, you can, take note, right? And govern yourself accordingly. Thank you. Oh, Rose, thank you so much. Yeah. All right. Okay. Oh, okay. Bernard say that. What about the card holder? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think Bernard, you had a question. I think I don't think I answered that question. Okay. Okay, Sex Civil Society. All right. I think, yeah, there was a question. What about the card holder from the country restricted? Can they travel and come back? I just answered that question. Yes, if you are a green card holder, you are exempted of this travel ban. Now, does that mean that you can just travel willy-nilly? Yeah, if you always have to remember, if you have something that's going on in your life that can be picked up by the government, aka running with the law of any sort of time, you may want to think twice. But otherwise, the travel ban does not affect you. It does not. But at the end, you're going to have to make the decision whether to travel based on your own history. Good evening, Abd. Okay. Malu, I say I'm in the United States with a 1-year visa. I've applied for asylum. Am I safe? But when did you apply? Malu, technically, as long as they have not decided on your asylum application, normally you should be in good shape. Now, could you be facing detention? Is possible. Why? Because, for example, if you are before the court, we know that ICE have been arresting people in court. Why? Because the government will just close the case, right? In January. Okay, got it. I hope you apply within a year, because in order for you to be eligible, then you should apply within a year. But normally you should be okay. But again, you guys be careful. Anything, even now, even a parking ticket is a problem. You have to be prudent. Now, if you are going, but if you apply, if you came with a visa, it means that you're not in immigration court. It's what is called an affirmative asylum application. And normally you should be okay, right? Make sure that if you have to change your address, you make sure that you're on the up and up, and then, but be very careful. For those of you say you apply, if you have your receipt, and that's actually for everyone, okay? Always have in your pocket the proof of whatever you apply for, right? Before USCIS, or if you're in court, things like that, right? Because even US citizen have been facing arrest, and then even when they say the US citizen is sometimes being met with suspicion from ICE officer. Now, who knows? Gauthier, do you think that USCIS will expedite an asylum case for people with TPS, which is set to expire in August? That's a great question. The problem is that we have fundamentally and politically, right? The administration want cases to be actually processed in a quicker manner. The problem is the volume of cases. just for affirmative asylum application, we're talking about 1 million cases. I mean, they're very frustrated with the huge amount of cases that they have. And they just like, okay, they're trying to see. That's why they try to see, okay, where are most of these cases? Affirmative, in front of USCIS, or defensive, they're in front of the court. Now they're telling the court, okay, they're telling the judge, okay, you can close a case if there is no legal reasoning. That way it's easier for them to just, close the case and then try to deport the person. Now, for on USCIS ones, they have a lot of pressure, right, from the administration to really go through these cases, but the backlog is humongous. There are people who've been waiting for years, for almost 10 years. But I spoke to some clients and they were telling me, some people that called the office telling me that, oh, they apply, let's say in January, and in April, they already have an appointment for an asylum and then interview, meaning it goes fast. But will they do that because it's a TPS? It's gonna be hard. They could, because the administration could, they could, but I think they will have to sift through the thing, remove all of this. But what will happen is, for example, for those of you who have a TPS, right, and then there is a challenge in court, then the judge grants an injunction. Then, of course, the administration, obviously oppose that. They go on appeal. They went all the way to the Supreme Court. The problem is, when they do that, then the class of people for any particular country who had their TPS, then they're vulnerable to deportation. Now, the thing is, one thing for sure is that people, for example, whose TPS expire in August, that would be Afghanistan, probably, and Cameroon in particular. That will be if you don't have any alternative type of relief from deportation, then you're going to find yourself facing them. You could be moving. You could be like, okay, no, I'm afraid to return to my country. I made a live regarding that, much in detail. Just all of this to say that I don't think they will go specifically looking for because that will be discriminatory in nature, right? If they want to process application quicker, which is not that they don't want to, but they are too, the backlog is enormous, right? But I don't think that will happen. But what will happen is that if people find themselves with their TPS status expired and they have nothing that has been filed, then that's going to be a big problem, because then now they're going to be probably in the focus, from the government, and be like, okay, now we'll get ready to move forward. It is actually, there is a question from Ebenezer, and I'm going to translate that. Ebenezer is, thank you so much, Ebenezer, for the #1 gift badge. Thank you so much. And Ebenezer, for the asylum seeker, it's not particularly like the arrest that we have seen in immigration court are nationwide. It's not particular to whether it's in New York City, Buffalo, everywhere. It's everywhere now. The reason is because you can tell this is the policy for the administration. We talk about that. Now they will move in, and they will say that, oh, the case has been dismissed. And then you have actually the ICE officer, on the ground right there in court, meaning that everything is coordinated, meaning as soon as you come out, then you could be facing arrest, of course, because now you don't have anything pending before the court, and at the same time, you don't have a legal status, meaning that now you could do that and be facing expedited removal. You have to be careful about these things. You have to know, okay, what am I supposed to do? How do I defend myself against that? But that's targeted, because you have to remember that for the administration, they really have a gripe with certain particular type of cases, right? For example, asylum seeker, there is a problem, and think people who are overstayed now, and I like to say, and people who are on a travel ban, originally from a travel ban, coming to the country, meaning we see this tendency. But I hope, but Gauthier, that was a good question. Yeah, that was a good question for the expedite, and that was the good question, Ebenezer, also regarding that. But yeah, it's Okay, so apply on time, but my UN visa expired. All right. Yeah, if you apply, for example, if you came to the United States, your visa expired before you apply. That normally should be fine because once you apply, it stop the clock, right? Normally, you're not subject to detention and to arrest. Um, but now everything is so weird because even people who are seeking adjustment of status, even based on marriage, we have reports of people being arrested when they go to the interview, marriage, interview. Um, no, that could be any time. That could be no. What they've been doing is just trying to arrest people at the court. Why? Because it's easy, right? People are there, right? They have the information they call, and specifically, if the government is moving by saying that yes, they will just dismiss the case, knowing that it just puts you in that particular, no man land, if I may say so, quote unquote, and then they can move and say, okay, now you're subject to expedited removal. Meaning that we have seen that again. It goes back to what do you have as protection against relief except asylum? Do you have anything else? Um, and of course, if you're being arrested, because what some of you will be, or you will know people who will be, you have to know how to defend yourself against that. Yeah, sir. Frank say that I went for an asylum interview 2 months ago. Decision is still pending. Yeah, that's not unusual. That's not unusual. There is no particular processing time to when you will have an answer. Meaning, not exactly. You have to theologians. You have to arm yourself. Be patient. And I know it's easy to say. There's a Oh, okay, okay, okay. Got it, got it, got it, got it. Okay, got it. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. Great. Um, yeah, you just have to explore, okay, to know, okay, are you eligible for something, right? And if you're eligible, what are you eligible for? That's very important. But now everything has to be super strategic in your life. I will suggest to you again. I'm keep saying that, but literally, I'm not talking about myself. You should definitely, for those of you who have questioned about the process, who have questioned about, okay, what am I supposed to do? What option do I have available to myself? Specifically, if you have family, da da da, all of you book an appointment, a consult with a lawyer, right? Just put it on them. Yeah, there is a confidentiality. Even if you decide not to work with that lawyer, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. At least at the end, you will have a better sense of where you stand, what options you have available. If you're thinking about doing this or doing that, run it by your lawyer, right? Just make sure that lawyer, and at least at the end, you have something, right? That's what I would suggest. Like for us with our firm, when people come to us, after the consultation, we send them actually a summary of the consultation with everything that was discussed, option and all. Meaning, at least you need to do hello, hello, Rich. Hello, hello. Thank you. That's why. Listen to the moderator, right? Because they know how we run this live. For this to be, uh, at, at least a good experience for all. Um, brother, is it brother Elon? No, Elon. My 485 is approved, and I receive another schedule for an asylum pending. This is a good question because this is a case of someone who seems to have two type of of course you have two like you started with the asylum, right? And then now you have the 485. Now, do you have your 485 actually based on your, like, probably marriage, I suppose, right? If it's approved, and then the schedule, because you have to remember that sometimes when you go, like, USCIS has different sections, right? You have section for the 485, 765, asylum, this and that. They may not be, communicating immediately, right? but with time they will do. Now, if you have a 45 days approved, it means that you're a permanent resident. You need to explain, you need to send a letter to the asylum officer who wrote to you with the copy of the approval notice and saying that you want to withdraw, right, the asylum, because this is basically what you're supposed to do. Of course, are you supposed to do that immediately when you start the process? For example, oh, you apply for asylum and oh, now you met somebody. Okay, it's not because you got married to a US citizen, for example, and then you apply for adjustment of status based on marriage. Don't just go quickly and just shut down, the line based on the no. You wait until it's approved, right? And then you can move forward safely and say, okay, I'm going to withdraw. I won't pursue that. And I think that's a good thing. But this is a good problem to have, bro, Ilum. A 45 day disapproval is a good problem to have. All right, Michelle. Okay, send us through. Okay, was it through TikTok? Question. We don't answer the Kissy girl. Can I travel with 2 passports? Which passport will that be? First and foremost, we don't even answer a question about traveling, but I'm just curious. Do you have a US passport? And if okay, Michelle, got it. Exactly, that's right. Bien, Modo, ask the question in English for everybody that is there. Please, people who are here, I know that some of you see me on the French speaking, but as a matter of courtesy, please ask your question in English, because this is for people actually speaking English. That will be a better experience for all. Yeah, the phone number of the firm, we have that. I don't see, because I'm looking at it at all the call. You know what? No problem. Send me a direct message, Michelle, and then I'm going to have the team reach out. U.S. passport. Okay, this is Kissy girl. What do you want to do that? I'm curious. You have a U.S. passport. You want to travel. Where are you traveling, and why do you want to use 2 passports? I'm just curious, because I have my thought about that. And this is something, it's not only you, a lot of people have the same reasoning. I'm very curious to ask somebody want to do that. Why do you want to travel with 2 passports? Because maybe there is something that I'm missing, and if it is, I apologize for that. But question. Okay. Alexandro, do you know how long DACA renewal is taking to process? It's been 3 months and still nothing. Oh, Alexandro, I know that things have been going for a long time, but I think that for DACA, just, sure, just me look for DACA. How long will that be? Normally it's about 6 months, but again, that could change, right? That could change. Now, if I look here on the website, yeah, see, that's what I knew, Kissy girl. You think that's a sufficient reason? You say because you don't want to take a visa, you should try your African passport. You have to make an analysis to know what is called, really cost analysis, right? I'm not here to, to tell you what to do. That's far, far from it. But when you live in time when things are changing every day, right? You're a US citizen. You want to travel. Sometimes there is a price to peace. And the price to peace sometimes is just to, okay, you know what? Sometimes people pay for something, for insurance, for peace sake, right? If you are traveling and the only reason you want to use your Ghanaian passport is because you don't want to pay for a visa, at the end of the day, you're going to have to make the calculation whether, that could probably, I'm not saying it's going to be the case, but if it present some issue down the road, it may be, again, cost analysis. how much is the visa? But this is a very recurring problem that I've seen. That's what I was just asking as, even though I had a suspicion, but at the end of the day, you will have to, okay. Alejandro, I'm looking. If you send it to the Nebraska Service Center, normally it's less than 3 months. If you send it to the Vermont Service Center, it's, oh, wow, okay. Not, they don't really have something there, you know? Hello, Luna. How are you? All right. You guys give me your, of course, let me know if you have some last question before we wrap this up. I'm not answering questions first in French. This is an English-speaking language. You need to, be respectful of people on the live, and everybody want to have a good experience, meaning that you need to answer question in English. If you want to speak French, for those of you are French-speaking people, the live for French-speaking people, and everybody's invited, really, is actually in the evening. Yeah, no problem, Emmanuel. That's normal. You will not know, right? That's okay. We just have, the key is always to communicate, right? Let's not assume anything about anybody. But I hope that makes sense to you guys. Let me know if you guys have any question before we end the live. But those, you guys have great question. It was really great question, because seriously, I'm sure that those questions actually are very useful to the people that actually watching the live. It's fine. Emmanuel, we don't answer question about travel. Why? Because what is your immigration history? I don't know. Do you have any run-in, for example, with the law that you don't even remember? That has been a problem for people coming back. Did you ever apply for a visa with the United States, and then it was denied? Well, even if it was not denied, what did you say? Is there any contradiction? All of these things that we cannot even imagine, right? That's the reason why it's very hard to tell you if it's safe. Before, it would have been, we'll be comfortable to say, yeah, normally it should be okay. But nowadays, it's so delicate, right? That as a decision, technically no, but now it's based on everyone has a different immigration history, and that they will not share. Because when we started to have report, on the news. When you read second, third article days later, it's always linked to the person had a conviction a long time ago, the person had this, the person had that, even though he was dismissed, right? Those are the part, and even the person did not even remember. Something like that. You have to be careful. Okay, this is a great question. BTS is asking, is it safe for people who overstay with their B1, B2 to travel? No, is it safe? Oh, okay, no. I misread the question. I apologize for that. Is it safe for people who overstay their visa? No, I just said earlier, maybe for those of you who just arrived, on the USCIS website yesterday, they published actually on the news, right? They actually, at the direction of Madame Noem, the DHS, security Secretary of the Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, they now indicate that they will be going, and I quote, they will ramp up the crackdown on visa overstay. And that's following the Boulder attack, right? And what are they going to do? They're going to start the review of the immigration record and then take immediate appropriate action stemming from Okay, meaning that basically we don't know. You're not, yeah. It can be, again, it goes back to of defense against deportation do you have? If you have that, then you need to start thinking about it. Meaning it's becoming less safe. That's the short answer. It's not as safe as it used to. But yeah, it's oh, thank you so much, BTS. Yeah, it's not as safe as it used to. It just keep changing, right? All right, okay. I'm gonna go back to work. I just wanted to share that with you. It was really a pleasure because you guys have an interesting question. Thank you so much for attending this live. For those of you who speak French, of course, we'll see you tonight, of course. And but don't forget to follow the page. Of course, we are here on TikTok. Thank you so much. And for those of you who are here on YouTube, actually I invite all of you, go to our YouTube channel. Yes, yes, yes. Under Coloco Immigration. Thank you so much, Le Roi des Dollars Américains, for the number 3 gift badge. Okay. Make sure that you follow the page on YouTube as well. Meaning your support is amazing. Do that, right? That way we'll be like, yay. Now make sure that you follow that. For those on your TikTok, make sure that you share. Same thing on YouTube. And then to subscribe to the page, because once you subscribe, then every time we go live, then you will receive the notification, right? Thank you so much, Sarah, for the number 2 gift badge. You will receive the notification, and that will be super. Okay. There are some of you, right? For some of you, again, I'm going to reiterate because, sometimes some of you, everybody's coming at different time. During the day, the live is in English, right? It's an English speaking people, right? Everybody is welcome, but just don't be surprised. For the people who speak French or want to attend the live in French, it's actually in the evening, okay? Meaning that don't be surprised, but that's basically something that need to be said, if that makes sense. But we are wrapping up the live. Yes, we are wrapping up the live. I will see you guys tomorrow. If you guys have any question, if you want to reach out to our firm for TikTok, you look under the photo, and then you will see the bio, and you will have actually the phone number. And otherwise, you can send what is called a direct message. Yep, direct message for the win. Now, if you are on our page here on YouTube, but it's very easy because if you go to the channel and then you see the, like the page, then you will see the phone number, everything is in there, right? But don't worry, if you need any help, then it's not easy, it's not difficult to get in touch with us. But on those words, after this one, I'm going to let you go. Obviously, I'm going to start here with our team on YouTube. Okay, YouTube team, thank you so much again. Don't forget to follow the page. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to do your thing. Do your thing. Okay. Again, my name is Annie Coloco. I am an immigration attorney, of course. And of course, talking to you until tomorrow. Bye.